What I'm buying for the rest of 2026. A viewer asked me this question and I answered it very, very briefly in my last video, which was a longer podcast style video where at the end of the podcast style videos, I answer viewers' questions that pop any questions on any YouTube videos. I sort of scroll through and find a few. And this one was, what are you actually buying? What are you spending your money on? And I thought, well, you know what? Let's answer that really briefly, but I think it deserves a bigger explanation. So what am I buying for the rest of the year? Before I answer that, I want to go in about tactics, spending habits, and flesh that out a little bit. So here's the first part of the video. I wanted to talk about the plan. So not exactly what I'll buy, but the plan of how I'll buy it. So each week, I'm like you guys and girls watching. I really am. I don't have millions and millions of dollars sitting around. I don't have the ability to click my fingers and buy 50 cases of booster boxes. I don't have the ability to, buy out PSA 10s in bulk or raw singles in bulk. And I look at all these YouTubers, or I look at some YouTubers, sorry, not all these YouTubers. I look at some YouTubers and I look at some Instagram accounts and I think, how on earth do you have all this money? Like, where does it come from? Do you guys and girls think the same thing? You look at them and you go, man, like, how are you buying that much product? Like, of every set, where on earth does your money come from? What do you do for a living? Or is it solely the social media platform that you're on? You earn that much money from? It's just, it doesn't seem possible. Like, you can earn a little bit of money from YouTube, and I've done videos in the past on how much I earn YouTube because I don't really care about that. I'm quite transparent with it, but I tell you what, it's not enough. It's not enough to buy the amount of product that some people buy. I don't get it. So my plan's pretty simple. I work it's not a 9 to 5. If you've been in sales and in particular car sales, it's not 9 to 5. It's longer hours than that. I work an 8 to 5:30 plus after hours calls and texts and emails. And you know how it is if you're in sales. I work that. Let's just call it a 9 to 5 each week. I sell cars for Toyota and I get a paycheck each week. It's as simple as that. And that paycheck goes towards, obviously life and everything that comes with that, the personal side, but then also, you've got to set aside a little bit of fun, don't you, to either invest with or, have some fun with and collect with. So for me, every new set that's coming out, I'm buying a booster box and an elite trainer box, or of course, if it's just a holiday set, I'll buy an elite trainer box. But from week to week, my game plan is to set aside enough money each week to buy a booster box, like a booster box a week, essentially. And like I said, if a new set comes out, that'll go into the mix as well. But really, that's the game plan. Setting aside one booster box or enough for one booster box from a paycheck a week. I can't afford much more than that. Maybe some of you guys and girls at home have incredibly high paying jobs. Maybe you have lower paying jobs. That's the whole idea of life, isn't it? We're not all the exact same. We don't all have millions of dollars to spend. It's about the grind and it's about enjoying the process and it's about affording what you can afford. And for me, at the stage I'm at, that's where I'm at. Like, I look at some people's collector accounts, which is of course the sponsor of this video, and I see them in the millions and I'm like, how on earth have you got enough spare money to spend millions and millions of dollars on Pokemon? From an investing standpoint, full stop. I always say that it should be the fun side of your portfolio. There should be property in there. There should be more, blue chip shares. Like, there needs to be some regular things that have achieved over the last hundreds of years, like performance, so to speak, particularly land and property. It's one of the oldest investments from time, isn't it? But, Pokemon should be that fun part. And I'm expanding how much I have in Pokemon. Like I've always said, you should have 5%. And then based on the returns I've been getting on Pokemon, it's been outperforming any other investment I have. So I think about that, and that's where I want to expand it. I want to make it a bigger part of my portfolio because I truly believe in it, and that's why I speak about it, and that's why I do YouTube on it, because I say to you, you should have it as part of your investment portfolio. It's the fun part, it's the tangible part, it's the part that brings nostalgia and fun and laughs, and you can show off to your friends. You can have conversations about your friends. That's where it comes from an investing standpoint. So that's where I'm at in terms of what my game plan is for the rest of the year is one booster box a week. And when a specialty set comes out, or a new set comes out, I'm picking up an Elite Trainer box as well. Why? Because I enjoy collecting Elite Trainer boxes. I think Elite Trainer boxes look absolutely amazing on display. I don't care about Elite Trainer boxes from regular sets as an investment. I'm not buying them as an investment. I'm buying them as part of my collection. If they happen to go up, which of course they do, it's Pokemon, it's still Pokemon. It's gonna go up over time. Even terrible sets, poor sets, Elite Trainer boxes that get printed into oblivion, they still go up over time. So that's my game plan. Now, here's the next part of the question, or the next part of the video, and this really is, well, what? Okay, you've said you're buying, Michael Pokioz, you've said you're buying one booster box a week, plus Elite Trainer boxes of specialty sets. But what exactly? And this is a really interesting part. You know, I think about it, and I think about ultramodern, I think about the new print facilities that come out, and I go, you know what, I'd rather hedge my bets from purely an investing standpoint, and this is take the collector out of it and purely focus on what would make more sense as an investment. And that's what I need to focus on. That's what I focus on when I make decisions about what I want to buy. And I think, you know what, ultramodern is hyped, but one day it's not going to be ultramodern anymore. It's not going to be the newest kid on the block. You know, it's not going to be the latest movie out. Eventually it's going to get lost in the set of all other movies, and how does it actually stack up? And we look at sets like Phantasmal Flames and everyone's going, well, buy it, buy it, buy it. And I think to myself, well, not really, no. Like, I don't want to spend $450 on a booster box that just came out 3 months ago that's got 2 chase cards inside it. Yes, like, we get it. One of them is phenomenal. Arguably the greatest Charizard artwork we've ever seen. It's worth lots. It's worth lots as a PSA 10. Its population is absolutely insane, which scares me, but I get it. Times are changing. People aren't so scared about massive PSA populations anymore because it's about, you know, how many are really for sale versus how many are locked up in collections, and how many people overall want that card versus how many are actually at sale or on sale at any given time. I get all that, but it still scares me. It still makes no sense to me because eventually that set, Phantasmal Flames, will be 20 sets old. And you think, oh, 20 sets, that's miles away. Well, not really. You go back to, say, Scarlet and Violet base, and that's 20 sets ago. And it's like, well, it's actually not that it's actually not that long ago. It feels like only yesterday to me that Scarlet and Violet base came out. And there's other sets, and you think, well, is Phantasmal Flames just going to get lost in this sea of multiple Pokemon card sets? What's going to differentiate it? And, you know, how does it break through the next price barrier? How does it break through $500 US? How does it break through up to $1,000 US? And you know what? The answer to that is just time, because it's really not a good enough set to break through those price points. Now, that's not to say people won't be chasing this Charizard for a long time, because they always will. People will always be chasing this Charizard. Why? Because it's so damn gorgeous. Even Charizards that aren't so damn gorgeous, people are still chasing them. Think at the moment, Pat Flynn, Deep Pocket Monster. He's still chasing, or he's doing a segment at the moment, chasing Burning Shadows Charizard. The Rainbow Zard, which arguably is one of the most boring looking Charizards we've seen. The artwork continued through to other sets. It even had an artwork in Hidden Fates. But it's still worth lots of money, and it's worth lots of money as a PSA 10 because it's really difficult to gem a 10. It's got a very low percentage as a gem rate. And you think, well, if he's chasing that still, there's going to be streamers, YouTubers, you name it, people making content in the future chasing this Charizard, which is going to add, you know, some fuel to the fire, I guess, in terms of its demand in the future. But is there really enough there? Again, I'll ask that question. What's going to make it break through the next price barriers? As we can see lately though, booster boxes are just not getting reprinted. Are these current sets though, when printing capacity goes up a little bit, you know, are they then going to get printed? And that's what I meant by the statement before. I would rather hedge my bets a little bit. So when someone asks me, what am I actually buying? I'm thinking to myself, well, really? Booster boxes? Anything from Mega Evolution base and previous is where I'm focusing my attention. And the older, the better. And I would rather spend, let's say Phantasmal, I haven't even actually looked at its price lately. What is it, 400, 450, 500? I don't know. Let's say it's 450. We'll split the difference down the middle. It's a $450 US booster box. Think about other booster boxes that are $450 where you can park your money, or even just a touch more. Surely, I haven't looked lately, but surely Paldea Evolved, is that even 450? Is it 500? I don't know. But I would rather focus my attention on that. Fast forward a couple of booster boxes from Paldea Evolved. You get sets like Twilight Masquerade. It's been a long time. I've just purchased a couple more Twilight Masquerade. My last 2 weekly pays, I've bought Twilight Masquerade booster box, Twilight Masquerade booster box. This weekly pay, because it should be a good one, we are commission based, of course, I'm probably going to pick up 2 Mega Evolution base booster boxes. That'll be my plan. So anything Mega Evolution base and before, but going back to Twilight Masquerade, you look at Twilight Masquerade and you go, okay, Greninja, that's a ripper, and it's sub 10,000 PSA 10, which is still hugely high. Like, we're never going to get into the realm of paying, $100,000 like we are for Gold Stars, which are PSA population in the 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s. But it's not 50,000, it's not 40,000, it's not 30,000, it's not even 20,000 like Umbreon from Evolving Skies. It's sub 10,000. I get it, it's not an Umbreon, it's not a Charizard, it's not one of those absolute fan favorite Pokemon that get attention, generally speaking, in the TCG, but it still does. Greninja is still a fan favorite Pokemon, and it does get the attention. Maybe not like Mew or Mewtwo or Gengar, but still a great hit. Coupled with, it's been a long time since we've had a set, probably Ultra Prism, since Ultra Prism, that we've had a heavily trainer-based set. And not even heavily trainer-based, I shouldn't say it. Heavily chase card trainer-based, is in, we've got 2 chase cards inside Twilight Masquerade that are trainer-based. It is the 2nd and 4th most expensive card inside Twilight Masquerade that are trainer cards. And they're both beautiful, beautiful cards. They're really, really nice cards. Moreover than that, we've also got an Eevee inside there. Probably the only thing that Twilight's missing is like a 5th nice chase card. But the top 4 are absolutely stunning. I think it's got 4 really, really good chase cards that people will want to chase in the future, and it adds something different. I think it's a fantastic pickup, Twilight Masquerade. And I'm not just spruiking it because I've just bought 2. It doesn't matter, like 2's a drop in the ocean. If I'd bought 1,000 of them and I wanted to shield the price up, of course, I'd do a whole video about how good Twilight Masquerade is. Quickly, go buy it to push the price up. I'm not like that. Like, I haven't sold anything. I haven't sold a sealed product on eBay forever. I think the last sealed product I sold was Sword and Shield base blisters like 4 years ago on eBay. In fact, I don't think I've even listed, maybe I've sold a couple of singles on eBay since then, but I don't plan to. I plan on holding long term. So all my decisions are long term based. Yours will differ. Sometimes your decisions, you might be looking to make quick money. You might be looking to do plays which net you money in 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months that you can then flip and roll into more purchasing decisions. That's not me. My advice here is coming from long-term plays. Some other long-term plays. Go back from Scarlet and Violet. So speaking of Scarlet and Violet, if I were to pick my plays, it would be Surging Sparks, Twilight Masquerade, and Paldea Evolved. I think they are great pickups. 3 great sets. If you can't quite afford those and you want to spend more around that $250 to $300 US mark, Temporal Forces and Paradox Rift are not bad pickups. Scarlet and Violet base is not a bad pickup. There are some good sets inside there that you can still spend your money on. We wind back even further to Sword and Shield era, and I go, well, rather than spending near $500 for a modern set that's just come out, there's also some really good plays from Sword and Shield era. Brilliant Stars is one. We've got Chilling Rain, and they are great sets. They will go down as good sets. And to me, they feel undervalued. Why? Because everyone's attention is focusing on ultra modern sets that have just come out. I mean, even think about Destined Rivals. Here's a good point, just to hammer home this point. Go back 12 months when Destined Rivals came out, and geez, probably even been more than 12 months now. How long's it been since Destined Rivals came out? Anyway, everyone was buying it up, and booster box price just soared like this. Like one of the steepest curves or steepest increases we've ever seen. And I did a video on this. It actually went up quicker than what Evolving Skies did, like far quicker. It's crazy how quickly Destined Rivals went up. But it's sort of plateaued, hasn't it? Why? Because the question comes out, how does it go for its next breakthrough? How does it break through that next price point? And it rose quickly in price because it was ultra modern, because everyone had their attention on it. But the attention's not there anymore. The attention, like, yes, it's still a good set and the community agrees with that, but the attention's The attention's on ultramodern, it's on Ascended Heroes, it's on Phantasmal Flames, it's on people saving up money waiting for the 30th anniversary to come out, which will be here before we know it. It's on the Rayquaza set already, based after that. So things get lost in the background, and then sometimes that's the best play because people's attention aren't on it. If people's attention was on it, more would be purchased. If more was being purchased, it would rise price up because there's demand for it. Demand and supply, they're the two things that matter. So for me, I would be turning my attention to things like Chilling Reign, Brilliant Stars, even battles. Like, I'm not saying Battle Styles a phenomenal set, but for the price it's at, damn, it's undervalued. It's not going to be an expensive booster box long run, but look at even something like Steam Siege. Steam Siege, you put that up for auction on Buy It Now. You put that up for auction, 99 cent, no reserve, on eBay. It's going to go for like $1,200 US. It just will. And it's a terrible set in the grand scheme of things. Battle Styles will do the same in another 5 years. So if you can buy it for $350, $400 US, you could triple your money, in my opinion, in the next 5 years. It's just a no-brainer to me that there are some really, really good plays out there. So there you go. I know I've gone on a little bit of a rant. Shout out, of course, to Collector, which I said at the start, which is today's video sponsor. But that's my game plan. 1 booster box a week, collecting Elite Trainer boxes, holiday sets when they come out. Plenty of attention will be turned, and hopefully as much as I can get of 30th anniversary. And from there on in, booster box a week. I'm Michael. This is PokeOz. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch everyone next time.